Hi, everyone. Welcome to Happy to See Me, the podcast that puts the spotlight on the overlooked and underestimated. I'm Erika Casupanan. A lot of people see me as an underestimated winner. And in this week's episode, I'm hoping to give you some tools to see yourself more clearly. I am speaking with human design expert Frances Young. But before that, I usually start the episode talking about something I was happy to see this week. So this week, what I was happy to see was my friend Mike's birthday. And of course, great night, lovely dinner, always love being in the company with friends. But it really made me reflect on the journey of this friendship. So that's what I want to talk about today. Fun fact, Mike and I lived in residence together. So this was back in first year university, and we lived directly across the hall from each other, but we weren't really friends. We got along, we did classes together. Funny enough, I think something that we had in common is we were both Survivor fans, but we weren't really friends per se. So then once first year ended and we moved out of residence, we'd see each other on campus, but we never really hung out. And then we went almost 15 years without speaking before we reunited a few years ago, and now we are great friends. And now Mike works as an entrepreneur. He's an online fitness coach. I work as a freelancer, and I primarily work for myself. And since both of us don't have traditional office jobs, we get together at least once a week to do work together. So it feels like we have coworkers, and then we have heart-to-hearts, and we are now so tight. So it's so funny to me looking back at how right now we're friends, but for some reason we weren't friends before. And as we reflected on this, it was clear that just at the time when we were so close to each other, the proximity was there, we were just not ready to be friends. We were both teenagers who had just moved out. At the time, Mike was closeted, so he was dealing with all of the hard feelings that come with suppressing a part of yourself and figuring yourself out and feeling shame and not being able to live authentically. And then for me, I was a girl who came from living in a very strict household. I moved out for the first time. In hindsight, I realized that there was so much that I was afraid of and so much that I felt insecure about. And like any 18-year-old who feels scared and insecure, you pretend that you're not scared and you pretend like you know everything. And I felt like I was managing so many emotions and so many fears that came with the change. And because of that, I don't think either of us really had enough compassion or capacity for compassion and capacity for empathy and to really relate to each other. And I don't think we had the capacity to see eye to eye and to be friends at that time. Again, never hated each other, but we just never became friends. So now years later, to see that we have both separately grown so much, and now we're able to emotionally support each other, share in each other's wins, talk about areas where we feel vulnerable or we feel like we could be failing and we have to remind the other that we are on the right track. It's so funny to me that people who seemed so disconnected before can now be so close. So it really renewed my faith in fate or the universe or whatever it is you believe in, and even just my understanding of relationships in general, and knowing that timing is so important when it comes to so many different kinds of relationships. And hey, if you are meant to connect with somebody, I don't know if that's friendship-wise, professionally, romantically, any other time, but if you are supposed to connect with this person, they will resurface in your life when the timing is right, and it will be better than you even imagined. So what I was happy to see is friendship and timing and things working out for the best. So happy birthday to my friend Mike. And yes, Mike is a fitness consultant. And speaking of fitness consultants, I am speaking to another fitness consultant today. So Frances Young is a personal trainer, fitness consultant, and human design expert. Frances explains exactly what human design is, and she talks about how understanding your human design graph helps you to develop an understanding of yourself that can help you to live life with more ease. Plus, she talks about how human design can actually help you better understand the best approach to fitness for yourself. She also goes deep into my human design graph, and there are so many things where it resonated and so many things where I'd think, oh, that's a surprise, but really she just cut so deep and she read me. So I learned so much about myself. I am hopeful that this can inspire you to look up your human design and maybe see yourself more clearly too. In any case, without further ado, let's just get into it. This is my interview with human design expert Frances Young. I hope you enjoy it. So we know each other from the gym.
Yeah, we do.
And it's just funny how these connections pop up in different ways. Is this something that one can expect based on our human design?
Yes. Totally.
Okay, then we're gonna get into this. But first, for the listeners, tell me a bit about who you are.
Who I am.
I know, the big questions.
I'm very excitable.
Yeah.
And you might be able to tell that right away. But I will tell you my whole life story probably the moment that I meet anybody.
Let's do it.
That's a pretty good snapshot of me is that I'm excitable and I'll tell you everything. So I'm a small town girl, grew up on a country road in Ontario, Muskoka.
Oh, nice.
And big dreams. First thing I ever did that got me, I guess, excited was I went to go see Riverdance. If people know what Riverdance is.
Oh, people know what Riverdance is.
I mean, it should make a comeback. So who knows? Maybe it will. And that's what got me into dancing. So as a kid, I've done multiple styles. I competed in Scottish Highland dancing for a long time. I got into ballet. And then there was a period of my life where I thought I was going to be a professional ballet dancer. Lots of young girls have that dream, but mine kind of came up out of nowhere because I did Highland, then ballet, then it turned into, okay, let's make it a career. So I went to a professional ballet school in high school, and then I ended up moving to Winnipeg, of all places, to go to a contemporary professional school for university. So I got to get a degree at the same time as dancing all day, which was really awesome for somebody who doesn't like to sit still. And then we moved back to Toronto, Ontario, and then that's when my personal training and fitness career began. And I've been here ever since. So that's my life journey to this moment of what I do for my life, who I am. But I've traveled a lot. I've seen a lot. I really like connecting with whoever I meet on the street, just somebody in a coffee shop. And I don't have any pets. But I grew up with over probably 30 huskies.
Oh, they're all outside dogs.
They were all outside dogs.
Okay, are you one of those people where you're dogs for the most part outside?
Yes and no, because I've had them living outside as a kid, but I've also lived with dogs inside. I mean, hypoallergenic pets are amazing.
Yes.
Because dog hair is annoying. But I like pets inside.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I want to snuggle.
So with your whole journey from Highland dancing, ballet, and then now personal training, movement has always been part of it. So what is it about movement that has made it, that thread throughout your whole life so far?
Movement equals life for me. Movement equals an expression of your body, of your energy, and it's just morphed over the years. For a long time, actually, when I became a personal trainer, I had a bit of an identity crisis with losing myself as a dancer, or I felt I had, because I'd been in a studio since I was 7, pretty much every single day until I was 22. And then when it's not there anymore, you're like, whoa. So if there are any dancers listening, I hear you and see you. That moment can be harsh. And the one thing about personal training, though, and fitness and just the wellness industry as a whole is you still get to show off who you are and your energy when you work out. You get to feel everything, whether it's a little bit of discomfort or it feels really good. It's just another expression. And movement, I mean, humans know how much we need it. So to me, it just equals life.
I really appreciate that when you described who you were, you started with, I'm an excitable person, rather than listing the titles. Because I think that we get so caught up in defining ourselves based on what we do for a living. So I love that, yes, you're an excitable person. And on top of that, you've done all of this stuff. And even looking at all of the services you offer right now, from fitness to design, you really put them under this umbrella of being fearless. So to you, what does being fearless mean?
To me, being fearless means just listening to yourself, listening to your body. And the coolest part when we get into talking about human design is that it was literally the final piece of me finding something that was giving even me the go-ahead to fully listen to the little voices in the back of my head that say, do this right now, or no, move here, or no, go talk to that person, or anything that feels like I need to do this in the moment. So my business is entitled The Fearless Project. I came up with that well before I knew about what human design was. So it's very interesting now to like come full circle and be like, fearless is still the way even that I choose to lead my life, and what I try to spread to others.
Through human design and everything you're doing, it's checking in with yourself to see what feels right. And I think many people love to subscribe to the results of different personality tests or astrology or all of that stuff.
Ditto.
And
I love them.
I love it all. I love it
amazing.
all. And for people who are not into it, that's your prerogative.
Exactly.
I feel like also some people see it as, you use these things to like define yourself. But the way I see it is, it's actually setting you up to understand yourself and to also validate that it's okay when things feel good to you or things don't feel good to you. And
That's it exactly.
With human design, I think that it really specifically sets you up to understand what you can do to live life with ease. So I want to get into human design. So first, it sounds like crazy and scientific and out there, but
it's actually really sciencey. It's so cool how sciencey it is. Human design is the description of our energy and how it moves in our body and how it wants to be expressed. And there's the super nerdy side of it. And then there's also the way that it's linked into astrology, how it feels super ethereal and super spiritual as well. So it's how it can really like help anybody who feels like they're super into numbers, mathematics. This is the way that I am. If they feel very structured about themselves and aren't in this more, I'm just going to go with the flow of life kind of esotericness that it can also have. It describes us all, which is amazing.
So how does it work? Because I know you need to know your exact birth time. And I know for any astrology people there, knowing your exact birth time for astrology is helpful because then you know where all the planets are at the exact moment you're born. But then how does having the exact birth time determine your energy for human design?
It's a perfect question. So it still, as much as it is not astrology is basically, you could say, one of the 4 pillars that makes up human design. So the moment that we're born, our soul enters this life, we take a breath, and in that moment, there are actually these tiny little particles, this is the science side, called neutrinos that literally they come at us for the first time. We're outside of our mother's womb for the first time. And those kind of like implement on us an energy. And we were already formed in the womb, but when we enter the world, something changes in our energy. And so having that exact moment gives us what that energy is in that moment. So it literally does depict as well where the planets are. It depicts what chakra systems in our body are going to be more receptive to taking in parts of our environment or kind of being a little bit shielded. And then also very much talks about the Erika speaks with enthusiasm, like something that becomes a quality trait of yours as well, which are, there's also the Kabbalah and the I Ching are ritualistic texts that are woven into the system as well.
I have never heard of, what is it, a neutrino?
Neutrino. It's actually a thing. You can Google it. If you're listening to this, Google it. It's real.
I know. I need to look that up later.
Yeah.
So human design is I guess the combination of all these different spiritual systems that we might be more familiar with or less familiar with.
Exactly. And astrology, being essentially the oldest science on the planet, is embedded within the system, which for me, as being a nerd as well as being spiritual, is like, mwah, je ne sais quoi.
Yeah. I mean, the way I see it, I'm like, the oceans do different things when there's a full moon. So I was like, there is some level of science there. I don't know any of the science. I'm not going to pretend like I know any of the science, but I think it seems like it's science.
Yep.
So then since your human design is based on the moment that you're born, it's not like it changes like your Myers-Briggs would change depending on how your personality changes. Like your human design is who you are and it's the same for the rest of your life.
It is, yes. However, I love to like make a spin on this is because it's some of the nerdiness that I die down at like midnight when I've got nothing else to do, is that where the planet Earth is moving throughout the year and where the sun and the moon are, there are different energies affecting us at different times. So in how some days we're super emotional and some days we're not, our system could be feeling like it's operating as a different energy type, even though our energy throughout our life will never change.
Okay, so we are interacting with whatever is going on around us,
Yes.
which sounds very human.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Okay, so when I've looked up my human design in the past, it shows me this chart. There's like a body, there's all these lines and numbers. So what is a human design graph?
It's a great question. So on the graph, it will show you, 9 triangles and squares, essentially. And there's like lines connecting them. Some of the lines will be colored in, some of them won't be. Depending on the graph system that you look at, sometimes you'll see these like numbers on the side. And essentially what you're looking at, the squares and the triangles represent our chakras. So typically people know ones that run down the center of our body. And then there are a couple extra ones that human design just throws in there for fun. And then if people are looking at kind of the numbers that go down a side of a graph, that's depicting actually where all the planets are. One thing that's super cool about human design is it also talks about our unconscious self. Super nerdy in that when it does its calculations, just like a birth chart for astrology, it roughly calculates, in the spiritual way of saying, the moment that our soul entered our body. So it roughly calculates when your prefrontal cortex in your brain turns on when you're in your mother's womb, or that represents your unconscious. So that's one of the sides of all the numbers, and then the other side is the moment that you're born.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay, thank you for explaining all of that.
You're welcome.
I'm curious, based on your background with movement, dance, fitness, so what was it about human design that appealed to you to really dive into and make it part of your business versus if you were just going to look at one of the pillars like astrology or chakra healing?
Yeah. I found my way like backwards into human design because I know I've been reading horoscopes since I was a little kid in the newspaper. I was super into astrology, kind of like pre-pandemic, like 2019. I was starting to work with astrologers because I was just into it and thought I needed to know it. And then all of a sudden I was told what human design was. And for me in the fitness industry, I always felt like there was kind of this, this is how you need to stand out. You need to have your niche. Otherwise you're not going to be successful in the training industry. That's how sometimes trainers can feel. So trainers out there that feel like that, I'm sorry, I understand.
Yeah, I feel like it's like everybody now who wants to build some type of a business, it's like, pick your niche. And then for me, I'm just like, that's hard because I want to do everything. But I feel like that's going to be something we get into.
We'll get into that, 1,000%. And I'm like, I can't wait to tell you. But so for myself, I was like, I don't really know. I'm trying to like figure it out. Then I became a gym owner and da-da-da. Then human design came in there and was like, this is your piece to differentiate you, because it just felt like it truly explained this is why someone should eat this. This is why someone should work out at this time, because there's no one size fits all to fitness. When you've been in it long enough as a trainer, you realize this person did really well with this. This person did really well with this. I tried all of these things that I thought would work, and then they didn't even work on me. So what am I supposed to tell my client? Human design breaks all of that and literally helps you mold everything to the client that you're working with, at least in my mind.
Okay. I think that's really helpful. And I know in case there's anyone who's skeptical about something like this, when you bring it down to the tangible, like health and fitness, how can understanding human design help you in terms of your fitness plan or your fitness goals?
The best place to start about just explaining that is that there are 5 different energy types in the system, and each one has a different energy as to how it kind of wants to move in its day. Now, science and health and fitness loves to say that you should have consistency in your routine. If you wake up early and get your workout done, you'll feel more productive. All valid. You need to have a calorie deficit in order to lose weight. Valid. But sometimes certain energies actually need more sleep. Legit. We also know that. Some energy types, there's one that's called a projector, needs a lot more sleep than me, which is a generator. I can go on, depending, 6 to 7 hours, no problem, or do a little less for a couple days. Like university, I was a crazy person, but like, I didn't have a lot of sleep, but I was fine because I was a generator. But we can reach burnout faster on certain energy types. If you know that, then you can essentially also remove the conditioning of everything that we thought we were told was meant to be right to achieve a healthy body, a fit body, whatever you're looking for your goals. It just blows it all out of the water, which I love because I love to like contradict.
Yes.
Mass media fitness as a whole.
And it really does reinforce that there is no one size fits all to everything, because I was one of those people, I would look up so many things online about how do you lose weight in this part of your body, or how do you do this, or how do you do this? And I would do the things and then get frustrated and then realize that we're all different and what works for everybody is a bit different. And I think human design is just another reinforcement of that.
Literally that.
Let's get into it. What are the 5 energy types?
So we'll start with yours. So you're a manifesting generator.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's 2 things.
It's 2 things.
Okay.
There is a hybrid energy type,
Okay.
and it's 2 put together. But it's also, I can say hybrid, but manifesting generator, I feel like to whoever they are, one of my best friends is a manifesting generator. You tell them one thing about themselves, and then the manifesting generator is kind of like, nope, I'm still cooler than that. In the best way possible.
I think I could relate to that.
And then there's something that's called a generator. So that's part of your energy, but that's what I am. I am, in air quotes, just a generator, but generators are actually the most prevalent on the planet. And then there is something called a manifestor. They are 9% of the population, so a little more on the rare side. There are projectors, and they are the newest energy type on the planet, but they came to us in 1781, roughly, actually around when the planet Uranus was discovered. That's me getting nerdy.
Oh.
And then they're 21% of the population. And then there are reflectors, and they are the 1% of the population.
Wow, reflectors must feel special.
I mean, it's interesting. When I was told what I was, and then was had a reading about it, and then I looked everything else up because I was immediately like, oh my God, this is so cool. Looked at reflectors and was like, why am I not a reflector?
I know. I want to be the special one.
I know.
What's the percentage of manifesting generators?
It's somewhere. So generators and manifesting generators together, we're kind of lumped together. There's about 60 to 70%.
We're so common.
I know. It kind of depends, but generators, it's 38, and you're a little bit more than us, I believe, ish, rough numbers. But I know we're you can say that we're the workhorses, and when you Google things about generators and manifesting generators, we get a little bit but why are there so many of us? But there are actually supposed to be a lot of us.
So the world can function?
Literally that, because we are designed to give our light and our energy to people. So it's funny that the very first things out of my mouth is something about me. I'm excitable. Literally, I have a lot of energy on purpose.
Well, let's start there. Let's start with generators.
Yeah.
What are some of traits in generators?
Generators, you usually can tell who in a room is a generator, because especially if they are doing things they like and they're somebody that you can tell they're just happy about life, is they have a shine and a glow to them. They're usually very warm. They're very excitable. They have a chakra within their body that will go down that nerdy rabbit hole, is called the sacral chakra. Some people may be familiar with it. And that one is, if you're looking at it on a graph, it's colored in or it's lit up. It's a defined energy in them, and it's always fueling them. It's their battery. And readers out there, if you happen to listen, we usually say the Energizer Bunny battery, because it just keeps going. If you keep doing things that you like, whatever that is, it can be as mundane as you literally eat your favorite thing in the morning, that fuels you a little bit more in the way that your energy wants to operate. So it's as small as it wants to be, as to literally what your job is, where you go on vacation. If you love what you do as a generator, you can tell that they love their life.
Okay, and when a generator wants to work out, what does that look like?
So a generator has a lot of energy to expend. So because this sacral chakra is always defined in them. So typically something that is going to be vigorous It doesn't mean that a generator doesn't love yoga or doesn't love aquafit. Maybe something that initially wouldn't come across as something vigorous, but a generator needs to burn out their battery in a day. So if they love going to CrossFit, I know a lot of generators that love CrossFit. I'll pull that card. I am a CrossFit person.
We met at a CrossFit gym.
We met at a CrossFit gym. And for me, like dancing, like I can dance for, 6+ hours a day. No problem. Am I tired at the end? Yes, but my battery keeps going. And it needs to be burnt out. So if a generator is doing the exact workout or vigorousness that their body wants to get out in a day, then they've used and worked out in the way that they were designed or meant to.
Okay, so we know generators probably picking up some heavy stuff
They like
really
to pick up
quickly.
heavy stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so what is a manifester like?
A manifester is the trailblazer of us all. Let's go back hundreds and thousands of years, manifestors were our kings and our queens and our leaders, as they would have these sudden urges and moments of knowing this is what I need to do, this is what I need to say, and then everyone would follow them. As we needed people like that. So they can sometimes come across as a little bit like, hey, out of the blue and just kind of surprise you a little bit. Or you'll really potentially notice someone in a room if they're a manifestor because they kind of stick out like a sore thumb. And I say that with a lot of love in that they are somebody that we notice because we're supposed to notice them. Their energy is giving off a big aura because their throat chakra, if you're looking at a graph, is always defined. They always want to speak and communicate what's going on for them.
Okay. And when a manifestor is working out,
Yeah.
what is their fitness?
Manifestors' fitness comes in bursts, just like their urges to speak and lead in different ways. So typically manifestors love sports. Typically they do like high intensity workouts as well, but maybe it's one day they have a high intensity workout. The next day they do go to yoga. The next day they rest. So it's their energy comes up a little bit more sporadically. Sometimes a manifestor's not going to want to work out for a month. That's fine. And that's not said in the fitness world of being, this is how you're going to achieve whatever you want to do, So manifestors, bursts and rest.
Okay. Already sounds different than a generator.
Very much so. Yeah.
So then when we put them together,
Yeah.
the one that is me, the manifesting generator, what is a manifesting generator like?
Manifesting generator, their path in life, even when pre-thinking back to what I said of you say something to them and then they're like, wait, that's actually not me, is their life path may feel nonlinear or may feel like, I don't know where the heck I'm going because no one else has lived your manifesting generator life before. And you've got the manifestor urges. A lot of manifesting generators want to speak and just say everything that's coming to top of mind. When I think of my best girlfriend, she'll literally say the thing that no one else will want to say. Kind of vibe. And then you also have the generator vibe in you. So you've got your sacral center colored in too, which is your desires linked to your throat. And workout wise, I've mentioned to you that it can change a lot. And that's fine because you have so many interests or you get piqued by something new that you're like, this is the thing now. I find this so exciting. And then I want to tell everybody. So it's meant to ebb and flow and change. Or maybe then there's going to be a period where you're like, I don't want to do as much. And that's fine.
Oh, I can totally relate to that. I've had periods where I'm like, this is the workout I do and I love it. I'm going to go all in. And then I'm like, okay, that was fun. Now I'm going to do this instead. So I'm glad to know that for me, I'm like, oh, that's something that's normal rather than me wondering, okay, did I not fully commit to this? Or it's like I hit the one goal. I'm like, I don't need to go to the top of this. I'm going to move on to something else. So that's very validating for me. So
and
thank you.
Totally the way that we can actually say it in human design, the way you're meant to operate.
Yes, thank you. Oh my gosh, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, okay?
Yeah.
So what about projectors?
Projectors. So there's there's always lots of jokes in the human design community, but some people will say that projectors are here to lead us and sort of take over. but not in a bad way. Projectors do not have their sacral center colored in, or they don't have a constant battery. Neither do manifestors. So they ride the room of energy, or they just see everything a lot different. And we need them for that, because you and I are kind of bouncing off the walls sometimes, and we need somebody to kind of rein us in. That's what a projector is. They rein us all in. So say how they move. I know lots of projectors that still love CrossFit, or they're weightlifters, or they're moving lots of heavy things. And I have a lot of clients that are projectors too, but I treat them very differently, because they want to know exactly how to feel in their body when they're working out. They want to know the why. They want to know the how. They want to feel really safe. They want to get every inch. So something that's super body in tune, dancing, Pilates, sometimes those facets of types of working out appeal to a projector more than other things. But Olympic weightlifting, you lift a heavy thing once, put it down, sit down for 5 minutes. Perfect projector workout.
Okay, so lots of questions, very cerebral, very into their emotions when it comes to working out.
Totally.
All right, and then the special people, the 1%, the reflectors, what are they like?
So reflectors, they have no centers in their body graph colored in. So if you happen to Google while you're listening to this and it's all white, you are a reflector. It is super environmentally important to where they work out, or just literally where they have their life in general, wherever they live, because they're picking up on all of the energies around them. And so that means they could, go to a workout class, whatever it is, boxing, love it, and then the next day be completely depleted because they took in everyone's energy from class, used it, had the best workout, and then they need to go walk it off for 2 days, as an example. But a reflector, the best way to kind of describe their personality and how they may come across is that they are like the mirror on the wall from Snow White. They'll reflect back to us what is going on within us, what we're saying to them. They'll help us kind of sort our shit out a little bit. So we need them. They're meant to be the centers of our community.
Okay. They're the empaths, if you will. Not to say that the other ones do not have the capacity for empathy, but it sounds like the reflectors are especially empathetic.
The ultimate empath of us all. Yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it, because we all, depending on what parts of our body pick up on more energy, we're all emotional empaths in some way, but it just depends. Somebody in human design can also be called an emotional, or there are called non-emotionals, and that's another topic. But we're all empathetic in different ways.
Yes. Have you had a client who, after understanding their human design, had some type of breakthrough when it came to fitness, or a huge block moved for them?
Totally. Actually, for what I can say right now, of all the clients that I currently have that I train and they also know their design, I have had lots of breakthroughs with them, with me seeing the change and maybe them not seeing it quite first, but me realizing. I train a manifesting generator who actually, if we have a really passionate conversation, they will work out even harder because they're speaking and using their sacral at the same time. We found the moves that they love the most, and then they have been the most consistent in their workout routine that they ever have been, and they are now almost 50.
Wow.
And I love that for them.
Wow. So they got into fitness probably later?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Another non-linear path. Who would have thought fitness was going to be, quote unquote, later in life?
Totally.
Okay, well, speaking of manifesting generators, and since I'm one, can you tell me more about my human design graph?
Yeah, I'll look at it.
I'm so excited.
I can see it. Because I've looked at it a little bit, but not enough to memorize it. So one thing that I realized I didn't mention about the initial graphs, that I was this is important, because it's super actually important to the more things that as humans we want to know as to what is a step-by-step that I can do today to, live my design, change my design, be like it. And there's one thing I'll mention later that I haven't even talked about yet. Is something that you'll see on a graph, and there are arrows. And there are 4 around the top of the graph. And yours all point left.
Oh, what does that mean?
Which is super cool. It's actually quite rare.
Finally, I'm special.
Right? I couldn't wait to tell you that, because it's a cool place to start. But the arrows represent how our body takes in information, which includes food. So it talks about digestion. It talks about the types of environments that we like to be in, how our brains want to see something, your perspective at looking at the plant as opposed to what I see, and then how you're motivated to do something, what you're going to see and feel that's actually going to cause you to act. And when they all point left, that's like super strategic. It means your body loves structure.
Oh, interesting.
Which I love is cool for a manifesting generator. And this is why everything is so different per human design like graph, is because manifesting generators, they really like their flow. They don't like to feel like they're in a box. But it's what's called a quad left.
Oh, okay.
I know. And it's cool. So in certain ways in your life, when you do give yourself structure on schedule, on when you eat, on how you see you want to do things, the more, in air quotes, structure you give yourself, the more that things just can potentially feel at flow for you, or that you may feel at your strongest. You may be getting your best sleep. These kind of like other things that are happening in life just seem to feel easy for you.
That's so interesting.
Does that resonate or no?
Yeah, I feel like this is the thing. I think it's like I like structure, but then I also like the flexibility, but I'm just like, oh, yeah, that's very trippy to me, because I think I don't like to be confined, but I think I like structure.
And so that's why I was like, this has to be described in the perfect way because of the fact of you being a manifesting generator.
Yeah.
But the 4 arrows represent that if we try on these implementations of very like mundane things of a way you could structure your day, but not have structure, is pick out your outfits the night before. Because you already know what you got to wear, so you don't have to worry about it. To me, that feels like structure.
Yeah.
As opposed to just winging it,
Yeah, and I don't like thinking about what to eat in the day. So I'm like, okay, if I do cook, it's always meal prepping for the week. And I hate doing it. I don't like cooking. But then the rest of the week, I'm like, oh, okay, then I can just like grab this and eat it. And then I can just go do whatever I'm going to do.
And that's an essence of giving yourself structure. That's then your brain just doesn't have to think about it. Structure is, in a certain way, not thinking about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's true. And, oh my gosh, we love not thinking.
Yeah, because we just put things in place and then we are,
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Oh my gosh.
So that was something that I was like, this is neat, because I haven't seen that as a manifesting generator yet.
Yeah.
Or on a manifesting generator chart. One thing that I like about your chart is, I love all charts, but that it sticks out to me, is there's a center I haven't talked about yet that's called the G center, or it's a chakra that people might not understand the description of right away. The G center is also a center of knowing of direction and love in human design. And yours is white on the graph. What that means is when anything is white on a graph, it's like a sponge. It soaks things up and wants to experience what's around it. So with an open G center, and combining that with manifesting generator, you're probably somebody in the room that can talk to everybody.
Yeah.
But can also like super identify with everybody. Like, I see that you're so into this and you like love it with them. Or I can talk to this person and like, I like your style, but I'm also just going to stay over here after I'm done talking to them at the same time kind of moment. But sometimes an open G center can feel like, where am I headed in life? As like a bit of like a conditioned way, but you're meant to be able to identify with so many directions that you get to choose which direction you take at what time. And I find usually a lot of the time too with people with open G centers, if I see their graph, is they're kind of just care bears. They want to hug everybody.
Yeah.
They want to just be like, I love you already, and I don't know why.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can see that. It's like, if I'm the +1 at a wedding, I'm like, I'm a great +1. I will make conversation with whoever's there. I wouldn't say I'm like the volume loudest person, but I'm like, oh, I can be put in front of anybody and find something one-on-one to talk to them about.
Totally.
And then, I also have my moments of, I feel like I do so much in life and I try so many new things and have so many experiences. And I'm still just like, have I done enough?
That's open G right there. That's open G. And then the condition. So one thing about human design that's super amazing of it saying that this is us is it allows us to then fearlessly cut out noise. This is how you're successful. This is the 5-step plan to get abs. All of that in my mind has always been a little bit like, I don't want to listen to that. I'm going to put that down. What does my body tell me? What is right for me? And you having that moment of, have I done enough yet? Is kind of the potential conditioning of something else in the world that you've soaked up in that center of being like, but actually, honey, you're fine. You're just doing all the things you want to do. Yeah.
Oh, some of these are hitting. All of them are hitting. Let's be real.
I mean, I love that. There's one thing, maybe I'll talk about that and then I'll go into one other important thing. So we'll do the non-emotional, emotional moment. So we are both what they call a non-emotional. And what that means is that there's a center on a graph that is called the solar plexus, which is a representation of our emotions in the graph representation. And when it's white, just like talking about that G center for you, it means it soaks it up. So non-emotional are actually the most emotional. Oh. Let's put that in air quotes. Yeah. And I also know you're a Cancer sun, so we get dubbed as like super emotional. I have a Cancer rising, so that's the astrology talk for those nerds. But what that means is then too, if someone in the room that we're in is feeling a 2 out of 10 of sadness, a non-emotional such as ourselves will pick up on it and we'll feel it like a 7. Even if it's like they're just sad that their toast burnt or something like super minuscule, but we're going to feel it really deep. And then there are people that they call unemotional, and then their solar plexus is actually colored in on their graph. And they legitimately are people that wake up in a mood. Happy, sad, somewhere in between. Their body is dictating their emotional experience. And it's really funny, like different moments, times in my past, somebody will ask me like first thing in the morning, like, how are you feeling today? I'm like, I actually don't know. That's like an experience of a non-emotional because our body itself so-called does not produce the emotion, but we're still feeling potentially days after if we've been picking up on emotions from others. And then this kind of like leads perfectly into my other note is that there's 5 energies and there's more than 5, but there are certain ways in which each energy is meant to interact with the world, which is called a strategy. And then there are certain ways that each body is meant to make a decision. And that's the cool part about human design, of that if we follow energy or strategy and authority, I can talk about open G center, quad left, all these cool things. But if we do that, if we listen to those things, the strategy and authority, that's how we actually like, achieve and do all the things that we're meant to do.
So what is my strategy and authority?
So manifesting generator and generator have similar. We say that they're the same in human design, even though they act a little bit different. But we respond. And responding is, I describe it with going to a buffet. And that life is a buffet. And we go up to whatever we see. And we're like, oh, today I just really want chicken. I don't know why. I'm going to remove that. I need this amount of protein and blah, 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 blah. I just want chicken today. That's me, like my body is physically responding and I want to do the thing. And I can't sit on my couch and just decide that I'm going to, flip through my phone. And we can't actually respond in that way, but it's like it's a little bit different. We actually have to interact with things. And we don't know what we want until we see it for you and I. I didn't know that I was going to move to Winnipeg for university until I sent the application and they sent it back of being like, yeah, we want you. I would have never have picked Winnipeg. Yeah. Especially growing up in Ontario. Never would have done that. Never would have known that I'd liked Riverdance unless my parents took me to see it. Yeah. That was me responding. Responding can sometimes, like, for us, it feels excitable in our body. And when I found out about human design and was told what responding was as a generator, I was like, oh my God, this is annoying, because sometimes it's okay to not know what we want yet. And that's like always the biggest question for a lot of people. I don't know what I want. Yeah. But it's because you probably haven't seen it yet. Yeah. So that's our strategy.
Because I remember seeing when I looked up my chart before that it said my strategy was to respond. And there's a difference between having to respond to something and being passive and waiting for something to happen. Because it just means that we're responding to whatever is presenting itself in our world. And that's how we start things. Because isn't it the manifestors, they can just start something. Whereas we need to see what's going on. We need to see what's happening and then decide what we want to do.
Totally. And every energy type has their own certain amount of like waiting. Put that in air quotes. Because a manifestor will get an urge, but I mean, they might not know what to do with that urge or the idea of doing something. And they also like have moments where they'll feel super at rest and that they need to like literally do nothing. But then our world is like, go out and do the thing or you're not going to be successful.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, but wait, I'm not supposed to do that. Our bodies and our brains are like giving each other's mixed signals.
Yeah. I guess the example I think of to bring it to the reality TV fans, because I know there's a lot of reality TV fans here, but I was recently on The Traders, and when I did all the interviews with the producers leading up to being on the show, I was like, I would make an awesome trader. I'm a little hesitant because I come in as a winner, all that stuff, but I'm like, but I'd be an awesome trader. Yeah. And then I go in, I meet everybody there, I realize, okay, I am the highest profile reality TV winner on this cast.
Yeah.
I don't think I should be a trader. I think I should be a faithful. So then it like, I think that like some of the producers, they were like surprised that I changed my mind. They're like, did you change your mind just here? I'm like, yeah, because I've met all the other people and I realized I think I'm in a really bad position if I'm a trader. So now I want the other one. They're like, okay. And I think that that's probably an example of me responding as a manifesting generator.
1000%.
Yeah.
And also the manifesting generator response feels a little bit different because there's something about the manifestor piece within the manifesting generator that how they respond is going to change sometimes super dramatically. They kind of have to like check in with themselves, which you did. You had that moment of realizing once you got there, oh, wait, no, I need to change. Even though you already knew, no, I know I'm going to be on this show. Perfect example. And every energy type has their own essence as to that when they are just following that strategy and letting the mysticism, if we want to go on the spiritual side of saying just like how life unfolds for them, it's actually really easy. And the responding just kind of like starts to happen more naturally. And all of a sudden your body and whatever, now and we can lead into authority, whatever in your body is actually making the decision for you as opposed to your brain is going to make it feel like your life is moving at lightning speed in the way that we all want to feel like things are coming to us and we're achieving what we want to do.
So then what is my authority?
Your authority is listening to your gut. And I love getting into authority for the fact that the world as a whole is like always says, just listen to your intuition and you'll be fine. Human design still says that, yes, our intuition is a part of our body, but there's kind of different nuances to it. Your gut is your intuition, but there's also in your graph, I see that you had a defined spleen. That's intuitive hits of knowing certain things. That can also be said intuition. So intuition in human design to me is a word I like to be very particular about. So your gut is going to know the answers to yes, no questions. Do I want tacos? Do I want a burger? Do I want to go to this audition? Do I not want to go to this audition? Do you like open-ended questions like what do you want for dinner? Or what restaurant do you want to go to?
I don't love them, but I'm like, okay, but I'll figure it out. But I guess it's like how you were saying, I like structure, so I don't have to think.
That's part of it too.
Yeah, give me the options.
Totally part of it. If it's, if anybody has gut authority or sacral authority, it's a very yes, no, we do not like maybes at all.
No. That's the thing. For me, I'm just
like maybe.
That's like my biggest thing whenever I'm talking to friends or gossiping. I'm just like, I don't care what you do. Just like pick a lane. Like, I don't care. You can like me or not like me, but just like not this like in between stuff. And I don't think I encounter that many people who don't like me, but who knows? It's not my problem.
No, not your problem at all. You're just living that man gen life being like, hey guys.
Okay, so then for someone like me, like what's advice that you have in terms of navigating life?
It's awesome. I love that question. Really just trying to still continue to go out and interact with life. I feel like that's easy for you. You want to get your hands dirty, so to speak. And that's where you'll start to notice that much more of, oh, this was a response. So you can kind of like now after I've only known about human design for just under 2 years, and clearly I'm obsessed. But the way in which I even look at my own body responding and how I try to pick up on things that I see and what I'm doing and where I'm going or why I want to walk this way on the street or the other way, I try to just even like throw those moments out the window sometimes to just let myself live. But just noticing what excites you, because that'll be your body responding. And knowing that it's okay to have moment decisions for you. Because with being an unemotional in particular, say for myself as well, if you're feeling emotional, you're probably not meant to make a decision in that moment. You're meant to feel the emotion, embody it, get rid of it in some way. And then when you're calm, cool, and collected, your body will be able to decide what you need to do in a moment on, say, like a certain decision.
Oh, amazing. So yeah, if I'm feeling emotions and I don't want to make a decision, I'm not deciding where we're going for dinner, okay?
Exactly. Exactly.
So I know we talked a lot about manifesting generators. I know that people can look online to figure out their human design graph. What would you say are the main areas that they should look at when they look up their own graphs?
The top 3 things are, what is your energy type? So what of the 5 are you? And see if you resonate with it. It's okay if you don't at first, because I was like, generator? Ew, I'm not cool, you know? Like, but I mean, Jennifer Lopez is a generator. Oprah's a generator. I'm pretty sure Elon Musk is a generator. Like, I can name lots of generators because we need them.
And there's so many of us.
There's so many of us.
There's so many of the generators.
Exactly. Yeah. And so just like seeing how that feels first, because start there. And then looking at your strategy. So how you're meant to interact with what's in front of you and how your body wants to make a decision. Those top 3 things are great. And then if you want to get nerdy on arrows, those things are kind of then where I wanted to go right away. And then one other thing that's super important, that depending on the graph that you look at, you may not be able to see it, but you'll see the numbers on the side. So if you're able to find a graph like that, look for that one. The number on the right-hand side at the very top is where the sun was when you were born. And I didn't get into that nerdiness, but there are 64 numbers on a graph. And one of those 64 is where the sun was when you were born. And that energy is super prevalent to you as a human and to you in the body that you're in. So mine is number 29. And literally, I feel like it's the most generator number out there. Because I have to just commit to life. It's literally all that number is about, that I get to say yes to this and go all in, or no and not all in. And it's wholehearted is kind of like one of the bigger words to use to describe that number. Yours is 56. Of course, I looked it up.
What does that mean?
56 is you just want to share your take on the facts of life that you see.
I guess that's why I'm on the mic right now.
Literally. And I was like, I couldn't wait to say that, to be like, you get to just talk about what you want to talk about in life and then spread it. It's a part of why you are here, to just spread the way you see it.
Thank you. That resonates so deeply.
I'm glad.
So Frances, if people want to learn more about your business, whether it's fitness or human design, and keep up with you, where can they do that?
They can do that on the gram. So at The Fearless Project, LTD or Limited. So that's the gram. I do have my website. It is Frances Young, so my full name, and Frances with an E, just so people know. CPT, or Certified Personal Trainer. So you can find personal blog. You can find ways to book me through my Instagram and my website there. I do update the blog all the time. And those are the 2 main places you can find me. Because you can also find me through email there as well. So
amazing. Thank you so much for teaching me so much about myself. I am sure that everybody has learned something about themselves potentially. So I can't wait to go off and just keep doing a bunch of different things and not feeling guilty about it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure.
Thank you, Frances, for that. One of my favorite parts of doing this podcast is being able to learn so much about other people and learn about myself. So I hope that people got something out of that conversation, and hopefully it's inspired you to use human design to better learn about how you can add some ease to your life. Now, something that I love in my life is when people submit questions for this podcast. So I will answer one of your questions. This week, the question is, do you like roller coasters and which one is your favorite? So here's a confession. I have actually never been on one of those massive roller coasters. And I don't know, it's not like I've been avoiding them per se. It's just I'm not at amusement parks often. And whenever I'm with somebody, it's somebody who is just not into roller coasters. Like growing up, love my parents. My parents are scared of a lot of things. So when we would go to amusement parks, we never went on the scary rides. It was always like my mom would get the brochure, look at all of the shows, and then make a schedule, and we'd need to watch every single show. Maybe there would be a ride in between. My dad would just hold our stuff as we went on the ride and he waited. So it was like I was never in a situation growing up where I was encouraged or really given the space to go on a massive roller coaster. And even as an adult, I haven't gone to an amusement park in years. Actually, I did just go to Disney World and Universal Studios with Heather in September. Heather's also not a huge roller coaster person. And I was like, oh, but I want to hang out. So I wasn't going to go on a roller coaster and have her just wait for me. So haven't been on a massive roller coaster. The thing that's funny to me is I love adventure travel. So before the pandemic, I would always use my vacation time to do some international adventure travel. So I've done whitewater rafting and zip lining and spelunking, which is basically like climbing through caves and stuff. I used to snowboard when I was in high school. So I like the adrenaline of all of that stuff. It just, for some reason, the roller coaster has just not been something that I've done. All that to say, I do have friends who are literally obsessed with roller coasters. So maybe that needs to be a goal of mine this summer. What do you think? I live in Toronto, so Canada's Wonderland is close to me. Canada's Wonderland, if you want me to come and finally go on crazy roller coasters, hit me up. But I don't know. Should I be really making the effort to try roller coasters this summer? And you let me know if you have any recommendations for which ones I should try. But yes, somehow roller coasters have evaded me up until this point in my life. But maybe the summer where I turn 35 is the summer I finally go on a crazy roller coaster. So thank you so much for that question. I love answering your questions. It's cool to see what you're curious about when it comes to me. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments or in the DMs. Until then, thank you so much for supporting the podcast. You can subscribe, rate, and review the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're also on Instagram and on YouTube at Happy to See Me Pod. Thank you so much again for tuning in. I will be happy to see you next Monday.